Chargers are 4-7. The Lakers are at Philadelphia tonight, 4 p.m. tip-off. The Clippers are at home against Denver. The Clippers have a chance to get back to 500 for the first time since November 6. Tip-off at 7:30. The Pac-12 Conference has 2 teams in the top 5 of the final college football rankings. Washington at number 3, Oregon at number 5. The other 3, Georgia, Michigan, and Florida State. USC and UCLA finished the season unranked. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, Black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any Black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
Voice turns my ear all the way on. Just the mention of your name seems to drive my head insane. Girl, do I do what you do when I do my love to you?
Thank you, Stevie. I'm Tavis Smiley, and glad to have you tuned into our program today. Now that we're back from the Thanksgiving break, the holiday season in full effect, and hope you had a joyful Thanksgiving break. But the show must go on as we push toward the Christmas holiday. God works in mysterious ways, and after being around all these years doing what I do, I just learned to roll with it. I have another guest scheduled in this half hour. Where that guest is, I do not know. His name is Gautam Chopra. He's the son of Deepak Chopra, and asked us to have him on the program to talk about his new book. It's actually a fascinating book. It's called The Religion of Sports, Navigating the Trials of Life Through the Games We Love. He talks to a lot of people, a lot of great advice in this book from Serena Williams and LeBron James and Tom Brady, even the late, great Kobe Bryant. A lot of great advice in this book about navigating life. It's always the case to me that you can learn a great deal from amazing athletes. There's so much about being excellent in athletic pursuits that is applicable to the lives that we live every single day. So I look forward to that conversation with Gautam, but that is not to happen today. But Evan Raymond is still here. I asked him to stick around because it just gives us another half hour to promote his book and to talk about issues that I couldn't do justice to in a half hour anyway. His book is called An Inconvenient Cop, My Fight to Change Policing in America. And trust me, I've always got questions about policing in this country, always questions, particularly for African Americans who choose to go in that profession. So let me just continue the conversation. Evan, thank you for sticking around.
Absolutely.
Giving us more time to talk about your book, which is again, I think a must read, particularly for those of us who care about policing in this country. Let me just start this part of our conversation with this. I'm talking now about black folk. We are not at all reticent. We are not at all shy about calling out bad behavior in police departments all across the country. Since George Floyd, for that matter, prior to George Floyd, we will do that. And yet, when black cops in particular do in fact find the courage and the conviction, the commitment, and the character to speak out about what's going on the inside, we don't seem as a community to rally around them in whistleblower status the way we do when we will go after a rogue police department. Now, I'm not naive about the ways in which this sort of plays itself out, but as one who has been and is a whistleblower for 7 years now, how do you perceive that dichotomy? That we'll call out the department, but don't rally around the cop, as it were. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, it's a real limbo to be in. And I remember, in 2015 when I was working prior to the New York Times article that really put my story out there, I was trying to get community support by reaching out to different activist groups, and they just had a real tough time digesting the idea of the officer being the activist. But thankfully, then Justice League NYC, the Gathering for Justice, Tamika Mallory, Linda Sarsour, Carmen Perez, shout out to Angelo Pinto. They took a chance, and that's part of the reason why I wasn't steamrolled when I blew the whistle. Because when no one is behind these officers, there's a reason why they disappear. And when I mean, some of them actually disappear, unfortunately, but most of them, they kind of just go back to life before. Many of them quit the police department. They find reasons to fire them because the retaliation, it jumps exponentially, once you blow the whistle and they realize there's no support. I think people overall just cannot grapple with the idea that officers are justice-minded and can see the issue for what it is, because the oversimplified perception is if you can see that this thing has issues and yet you choose to join it, then you're just part of the problem.
I could have begun our conversation with this question, but we'll probe it when we come forward. And that is, I asked you earlier why one who's had run-ins with the cops would want to be a cop, and you answered that in your own way, in your own words, obviously. When we come forward, I want to ask how one goes about making the decision to be a whistleblower, to come out publicly against NYPD. Yeah. And you have melanin in your skin, so you know how this is going to end up. And yet one chooses to be a whistleblower against a powerful institution like NYPD. Why? How does one go about making that decision? We'll talk about that when we come forward. His book is called An Inconvenient Cop, My Fight to Change Policing in America. He is Edwin Raymond, and you're listening to him right now on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Escalade IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac perfection like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop. Haiku. This is what I do. Daddy fat intellect since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Come with 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit. You hear me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Deal it, beloved, clearly we're hustling. Bustin', truckin'. Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com.
Available late 2024. GM estimate 450 mile range. On a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection. Consistent with SCHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or whether anyone cares about them.
But the reality is, 1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and tools they need to succeed in life. To learn more, go to covenanthouse.org today. Thank you for caring.
Attention Los Angeles County residents. Dreaming of owning your own home? Looking for ways to generate income with your home? Or are you behind on payments and need help? Then mark your calendar for December 2nd. Join us at the Opening Doors Planning for the Stages of Home Ownership event at Magic Johnson Park in Willowbrook on December 2nd from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. for workshops, a resource fair, and much more. Attendance is free. We'll have raffle prizes, food, and more. Dive into valuable resources designed to help you navigate the home ownership pipeline. To learn more or to register for the event, please visit our website, dcba.la/openingdoors. Again, that website is dcba.la/openingdoors. See you at Magic Johnson Park on December 2nd. Doors open at 8 a.m. for registration. This message is brought to you by LA County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs.
Did you know addiction to drugs like meth or cocaine is a disease and not a choice? But getting help is. If you have stimulant use disorder, you, your family, and friends may have a lot of questions, including where to start. Choose Change California can help. Make a change today and find a proven treatment option for you at choosechangeca.org.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
It is one thing, Evan Raymond, for a black man who's had run-in with the cops to decide he wants to be a cop anyway, to go on the inside and understand what this is about and perhaps figure out a way to change it for the better. You know what you've been subjected to, and so I take your point. Let's go on the inside and see if I can do something to make policing better for young boys black boys who will come behind me and hopefully won't have to experience what I have had to experience in my life. And then you get on the inside and you realize it's worse than you thought, and you realize that from the inside you cannot change it. So you decide then to become a whistleblower and to go outside, put another way, to go public. How does one make that decision to become a whistleblower against a powerful entity called NYPD?
Great question, because as you said, the original objective was to join, analyze, rise through the ranks, ascend to a position of leadership where I can then, make some changes, assuming that I might be embraced because I'm part of the blue, if you will. But then I realized that that's just not how the system operates, right? It immediately attacked me and tried to take my head off. So that's what forced me to have to do it by becoming a whistleblower.
Let me jump in. When you say it immediately attacked you, unpack that for me.
So first I spoke out internally, right? I would speak to colleagues, peers on the same rank.
And you're speaking out about what?
Just this numbers game, the type of decisions it's causing officers to make in terms of who gets arrested, how often people get arrested, where they're getting arrested. And I realized a lot of my colleagues, they did not want to think about it. It's one of the analogies I use in the book is an assembly line where everyone is just doing their repetitive task, but they don't see the bigger picture of what they're contributing to, right? The Model T Ford, we know we're building a car, but imagine your job is to just keep putting on the wheels or the windshield, but you have no idea what you're contributing to. That's essentially how cops operate.
And why do they not want to think about it?
Because they're conscious. If they actually give thought to what they're doing, what they'll do is they'll rationalize and say, well, I'm not making it up. He did bite into a jelly donut, and the jelly did hit the floor. Technically, he did litter. That's a real situation.
I know. It's sad, isn't it?
But that's how overly technical you have to get in order to find a reason to run someone's name, to either write them a summons or arrest them if they have something in their past, like a warrant that causes them to need to be arrested. So from speaking out internally and just getting all the pushback from colleagues and then supervisors, a lot of retaliation, I was essentially at the point where I had to speak out, but it wasn't an easy decision. It's something that I write about it, but it's still very difficult for me to fully understand. I literally woke up one day and I just accepted that if I have to die for this, it is what it is. That's how deep it had to get. It's not easy to talk about, man. Like,
Was there a proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, as they say?
I mean, a good friend of mine, Jim St. Germain, we'd speak a lot about policing, and he's just like, I don't know how you do that job. We had so many conversations. We'd go to the gym together. He'd come over. We spent a lot of time. He's a good friend. Spent a lot of time together, and he was just like, how do you not say something? And I kept telling him, you can't just say something. Like, I can lose my career. I was, my mother died when I was 3 years old. My father didn't speak English. He was born in Haiti. My brother and I, we struggled. I have a brother 18 months older. We struggled. We starved every weekend because there was no school lunch. We had to wait. Friday we'd eat, and we have to wait for Monday to eat again. Like, this was my childhood. And here I am now, 22 years old, in a career where if I ever become a father, my kids will never have to know that level of poverty. And here I am playing with that, in the name of what's greater, what's good for other people. It's not an easy decision to arrive to. But like I said, I woke up one day, and it was the most liberating and freeing feeling ever. I said, if I have to die for this, I'm at peace. And it was on from there.
I'm fascinated. This is getting interesting for me now. You are a member of a family, of course, a Haitian immigrant family.
Correct.
I've been to Haiti many times. Beautiful country. Love the country. Love the art. As a matter of fact, you walk around this building, you'll see some art I've collected on the walls in this building from Haiti. I love collecting art around the world. Some great Haitian art in this building. That said, I know how many, not all, but many of the people in Haiti don't trust the police state, as it were, the military in Haiti. And that's another conversation for another time. But I'm only raising it because to be a part of a Haitian immigrant family, that even colors or complicates the story more that you decide to go into law enforcement. Does that make sense?
It does, but believe it or not, my dad was the first to make the suggestion. I thought he was crazy.
Oh, your dad made the suggestion?
Yeah.
That's even crazier.
Yeah, I know. And unfortunately, maybe like less than a year after, he caught a stroke, never recovered, and he passed away 8 years later. It was my senior year of high school, and I wish I could ask him, where did that come from? Yeah. But
you understand my question?
Oh, absolutely.
For a guy like your father to come out of that?
Yeah, I know.
Baby Doc and the Duvalier. I mean, you know where I'm going with this.
I write about all
this.
I
know. I mean, I'm surprised your father suggested it. Why do you think you have any idea?
Maybe because he saw, the financial benefits and the perks and the benefits, and just saw it as a good career. And he raised me to be very righteous. Like, he knew that I wouldn't go along with those things. I didn't think he knew he was raising a revolutionary, but he knew that I wouldn't go along with anything negative. Because again, people still think police are quite autonomous, right? And he knew with autonomy, I would never choose to do those certain things that we know police do.
I suspect if I ask 1,000 black cops this question, I might get 1,000 different answers. I'm okay with that, but I'm talking to one particular black cop now. Certainly former NYPD officer, Eben Raymond. So let me ask you the question, because you wrote the book, An Inconvenient Cop. So let me just ask you this. What did you learn on the inside of NYPD about where black cops draw that line, how they navigate this tightrope of black versus blue?
Yeah, and I see what
I asked that because I'm laughing because you are black and you're wearing a blue suit right now. So I'm just kind of tickled by that. Yeah. I looked at your outfit and made me want to ask that question. So what did you learn about? Again, 1,000 black cops, you get 1,000 different answers. But give me your answer. What did you see?
So it's three main things I saw, right? And the bulk of it was people were indifferent. They were hyper-focused on their own issues. This was the job. They do their job. They sign in, sign out, get a little overtime here and there, and they go about their business, right, in their personal lives, despite the larger implications of what being a police officer means and what we're doing to people. And then there are those who lean into it. The fact that we get Tyree Nichols.
I'm about to ask you that. What I'm about to ask you. Let me just shut up, but I'll ask you quickly, and then I'll shut up.
Sure.
Finish your answer, but tell me what you saw when you saw what happened in Memphis.
Absolutely. Okay. But the fact that we get Tyree Nichols, where everyone involved was black, right, after George Floyd, that's an example of people leaning into it, right? They're not questioning it at all. They're actually accepting the system for what it is. Sometimes they don't see the larger detriments. They essentially, the people that don't understand us, who have created the system, they essentially start to have those perspectives. I know there are people in the NYPD, black folks from the hood, that refer to parts of Brownsville, like things I can't even repeat on the air. And it's like, wait, you're from Brownsville.
Yeah.
Just because you quote unquote made it out, this is how you see the area that you're from. And then the third, the iota, the minority, are those like me, right? Those that not only see the issue, but they're ready to do something about it. And unfortunately, we're the minority, the super minority. But that's how I see the breakdown of how black cops navigate the reality of being a cop, with everything that policing means, both historically and contemporarily.
This amazing book from Viking, notwithstanding, the amazing documentary Crime and Punishment on Hulu, notwithstanding. You said earlier you woke up one day and you just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And if I have to die, I die. But I got to speak my truth. And you decided to make that decision to be a whistleblower, and all hell sort of broke loose in your life in New York. We all saw that huge story in the New York Times. You push your story out, and the rest, as they say, is history. But again, the great doc notwithstanding, the beautiful book out now telling your story notwithstanding, do you ever wake up in the morning and have regrets about being a whistleblower, deciding to be one 7 years ago?
Yeah, wow. That's I don't think I've ever been asked that, man. This journey it greatly affects your personal life. And that's the part that people don't see. I have a beautiful niece. She's 6 years old, but I can't say I have 6 years of memories with her. You get almost tunnel visioned in it when you're on a mission like this, and it greatly affects your personal life. So, are there some things I would probably do differently? Sure. But then again, it's like, in taking it back to Haiti, we have a saying, "Main pile chai palu," with many hands, the load is light. There are not enough hands yet. So those who are willing to put their hands out have to carry that larger, heavier burden. And I'm not going to say unfortunately, because I know the mission is worth it, but that's where I'm at now. So part of what I hope this book becomes is a tool to get more hands in there, so that the load can be lighter.
And what if I told you, just by the sheer nature of the conundrum, there will never be enough hands in this fight?
Let's try to get more.
Yeah.
Might not be enough, but we could probably do more. You just said it. Courage is contagious.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It can be. I mentioned earlier that we're not going to discuss Eric Adams' current situation. He's been a guest on this program. I know Eric Adams. I consider him a friend, the mayor of New York City. But how did you, as a black cop, as a whistleblower, how did you view his successful candidacy, his ascent to becoming the mayor of New York City, having been for many, many years a member of NYPD?
Yeah, so and Eric has been a mentor in the past, and I remember, again, I used to have to translate the news for my dad, and I remember it was 97, the summer of 97, the Abner Louima situation had just occurred in our neighborhood.
Who was Haitian, of course.
Yes, in Flatbush. So the entire community was talking about it, and I remember, I believe that was the first time I saw then, I think he was either officer or sergeant, and I just couldn't believe that he was an active cop speaking like that about the Giuliani administration. So, it lit a fire in me, so that when I joined the police department 11 years later, I would run into him. I would always run up to him, shake his hand, and say, "Listen, I know who you are, and I appreciate you. Thank you for inspiring me to know that we can stand firm on who we are despite wearing these uniforms." At the time, he was the state senator in New York, and then he ran and won the Brooklyn borough president, and then he ran for mayor. During that same election, I also ran for city council unsuccessfully. But it's been amazing to watch. I've known Eric over 10 years. We've had many conversations about this stuff. Again, we hope everything works out for him. There are many things that I am seeing now when it comes to public safety and civil rights that it's not making sense, but I'm not in the room, so I have to give him grace there.
There are those in New York City. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, and I'm going to come back to Abner Louima in just a second.
Sure.
There are many people in New York now who voted for him. They thought he was the best choice then, but they're getting concerned about the blue coming out of him, oozing out of him more and more every day.
Yeah. Well, see, it's shocking to me because I've never seen that blue side of him. Obviously, we both wore the uniform, but based on the conversations that we've had, he understood and respected his position as law enforcement, but he also saw the detriments. He joined because of those detriments, similar to me. So again, some of the decisions that are being made, I don't know if it's his personal decisions, they're just not aligning with the man that I know.
How old were you when the Abner Louima thing happened?
I was 11 years old.
You were 11. You remember it though.
I remember it very well.
So
yes.
give me a sense. I don't know. You mentioned earlier that you'd never been asked a question that I just asked you.
Yeah.
I've never asked this question of anyone I'm about to ask. I'll say of anyone who is Haitian. How do you recall at 11 years old what your father, what the Haitian community in New York felt about Abner Louima? For those who remember the name, this is where the plunger was sadly used up his rectum. Just a horrible story that happened to Abner Louima. But what do you recall about how you felt as a Haitian when they did that to Abner Louima?
Well, I'll tell you, that morning I went to the store for my dad, and every street corner, that's what guys were talking about. And I have an older brother named Abner. So
his name is Abner?
Yeah, my older brother. Yeah. So every time I heard Abner, it got my attention because I have a brother named Abner.
Yeah.
And then when I got home and it was time to translate, at 11 at the time, I didn't even know what sodomy was. I got stuck on the word, but due to the context, my dad figured out what was being said, and he was shocked. Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And that was when my dad finally had to talk with me, the black man talk.
Yeah.
And but the community, they took to the streets. Something that we do easily now. Yeah. It wasn't too popular back then. They took to the streets. It was probably the first time I'd seen a protest, live. And my dad listened to a lot of Haitian radio. This thing made it all throughout the Haitian diaspora, from Canada to Paris to Port-au-Prince. And then my dad he was a Pan-Africanist, so he explained to me why these things happen, no matter where we're from, no matter how we present ourselves.
The longer we talk, the more I'm out of time now. Yeah. The longer we talk, the more I'm now starting, I think, to figure out why your dad wants you to be a cop.
Talk to me.
That Abner Louima thing.
Never thought about that.
You see this?
I never thought about that.
You see this?
Yeah.
That hit your daddy, man.
Yeah.
He couldn't process that.
No, that was...
How could NYPD treat a Haitian this way?
Wow.
So maybe the answer is send my boy on the inside as a Haitian.
Wow.
And you go fix this. So this never happens to another Haitian ever again. Wow. I could be totally off.
Man,
I'm just saying. Yeah. I was trying to figure out from whence he came, why he recommended you be a cop in the first place. But it starts to make a little more sense.
Wow. I got to really give that some thought. I'm going to speak to my brothers about that one.
Yeah, ask Abner about
that.
The book is called An Inconvenient Cop, My Fight to Change Policing in America. His name is Edwin Raymond. Again, if you're in the Southern California area tomorrow night, he's at Malik Books for a lecture and signing at 7 p.m. at the Westfield location tomorrow night. At Malik's 7 o'clock Westfield location. The book is from Viking. It's available everywhere books are sold. I didn't do justice to it, cannot, even in an hour conversation, as it turned out, to all this in this book. But I celebrate these black brothers and sisters who decided in various industries to be whistleblowers themselves. Being a whistleblower ain't easy for anybody, but especially if you are black, it ain't easy. And we celebrate your courage, your conviction, your character, and I thank you once again for this extra time.
Thanks a lot.
Good to have you on. All right, so we do have Gotham Chopper. We'll talk about that book when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What's up, party people? It's your favorite MC's favorite rapper, MC Light here. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. And we're going to take it way back to where it started. It was only fitting that hip-hop began with teenagers at a back-to-school jam in the rec room of a South Bronx apartment complex by an 18-year-old brother. By the way, I'm also sure he had a Cadillac parked outside. He noticed the energy on the dance floor when he switched between two turntables, extending the beats, repeating the breaks, and never losing the rhythms. And that was the birth of hip-hop. And from that moment, it took off.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Embattled New York Republican Congressman George Santos says he expects to be expelled from office, and it could come as soon as this week. A House Ethics Committee said it found evidence that Santos used his campaign funds for personal use, violated other laws, and lied about his education. Santos is also facing federal wire fraud and money laundering charges, all of which he denies. Dolly Parton, Taylor Swift, and other female powerhouses are the subjects of a new course offered at the University of Florida. The 13-week course is called Musical Storytelling with Taylor Swift and other iconic female artists. It also features African Americans Billie Holiday and Aretha Franklin. It's offered through the university's honors program starting in the spring. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Crash in the Long Beach area on the 710 southbound connected to the North 405. That crash has that connector road blocked until further notice. Traffic is backed up to Long Beach Boulevard. Through the Orange Crush on the 5 southbound between the 22 and 17th. Looking at some slow traffic there. And a stall in Yorba Linda, 91 westbound before Gypsum Canyon. That's blocking the right lane.
Halloween is over, but hiring is still scary. Indeed's end-to-end solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Rams get a 23-point win at Arizona yesterday. 4 touchdown passes by Matthew Stafford, 2 each to running back Kyron Williams and tight end Tyler Higbee. The Rams are 5-6. The Chargers have lost 3 straight. They lose at home to Baltimore by 10. 4 turnovers by the Chargers and only 1 touchdown, and that didn't come until the middle of the fourth quarter. The Chargers are 4-7. The Lakers are at Philadelphia tonight, 4 p.m. tip-off. The Clippers are at home against Denver. The Clippers have a chance to get back to 500 for the first time since November 6. Tip-off at 7:30. The Pac-12 Conference has 2 teams in the top 5 of the final college football rankings. Washington at number 3, Oregon at number 5. The other 3, Georgia, Michigan, and Florida State. USC and UCLA finished the season unranked. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Shop unbeatable deals during Mattress Firm's Black Friday sale. Tuesday is your last chance to save up to 60% on top brands. Plus, with the low price guarantee, if you see a better price, Mattress Firm will match it. This Black Friday, better sleep is a sure bet. Don't miss out.
Did you know there's a way to outsmart COVID if you get it? Now there are medicines that can treat COVID, whether or not you've been vaccinated, which is great news, especially if you're over 50. If taken in the first 5 days of having symptoms, COVID medicines can help stop the illness from getting serious. Call a healthcare provider or the statewide COVID hotline at 833-422-4255 to learn more about COVID medicines. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs. But it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
This open enrollment season, LA Care Covered is offering health plans starting at $0 a month. Each plan provides benefits including $0 preventive services, 24/7 telehealth services, around-the-clock nurse advice lines, walk-in minute clinics, and more. Shop and compare premium silver plans with $0 deductibles to help meet your health goals. Ready to shop? Visit us online at lacarecovered.org for a commitment-free instant quote or speak with us directly at 855-222-4239. LA Care Covered, your affordable path to wellness.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look, and unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at the gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
And we're glad about it. Things got turned around a bit on today's program, but the turnaround allowed us to spend some good time with Edwin Raymond discussing his book, An Inconvenient Cop, My Fight to Change Policing in America. I thank him once again for his work, his witness, his courage and conviction and commitment to raising these issues as a whistleblower for the last 7 years out of NYPD. And so I'm grateful that we had more time with him. I'm also grateful that we still get a chance to talk to Gautam Chopra, who joins us now. I think there was a mistake somewhere in the time. That happens from time to time, but he's here. He's the son of Deepak Chopra, who I've interviewed many times and consider a friend. So Gautam is the son of Deepak. And he spoke with many of the greatest athletes in the world for his new book, Religion of Sports, Navigating the Trials of Life Through the Games We Love. The book is full of great stories from Serena Williams, Tom Brady, LeBron James, Simone Biles, Steph Curry, the late, great Kobe Bryant even, and more. About unlocking the secrets of competition and of life. We'll go inside the book right now that we're joined by Gautam Chopra on Tavis Smiley. Gautam, how are you today, sir?
I'm great. I'm so glad to be here. I'm sorry about the mix-up in the time, but I guess it'd be too cliched as the son of Deepak Chopra to say time is just a concept. So, But,
you know what? I ain't mad at your dad, and I ain't mad at you for quoting your dad. And speaking of your dad, when you talk to him again, please tell him I said hello. Give him my love and my best. Do that for me when you next speak to your father. That said, you're part of a grand legacy, and you've written a quite a lovely book. And I want to spend the few moments that we have sort of going inside of it. Let me start with a couple of big questions, broad questions, Gautam, and then we'll go right inside the book.
Yeah.
For you, this phrase, it jumped out at me, of course, Religion of Sports as a title. Subtitle, of course, Navigating the Trials of Life Through the Games We Love. We'll get to that. But Religion of Sports, tell me about that. Unpack that title for me.
Yeah, so we've, already talked about son of Deepak Chopra. Look, when I was growing up in Boston, Massachusetts, as first-generation American, so the first person in my family ever to be born outside of South Asia, sports was an assimilation into a community. It was sort of the process of becoming American. And Boston is certainly not unlike many cities, not just in America, but across the world, where sports is sort of part of the cultural fabric of a community, of a place. And, certainly as I was a teenager, my father started to have his own, both personal and professional transformation into the spiritual, the spirituality business. I started to realize, everything that he talked about in spiritual and wisdom traditions, like going on pilgrimages, cathedrals, and mythologies. All of these things existed in the world of sports. Fenway Park, the old Boston Garden, the mythology of the Celtics, the curse of the Red Sox, at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think, Religion of Sports sort of harkens back to that time. But sports is not like religion. Sports, anybody who is a diehard sports fan, we call ourselves the faithful.
Mm-hmm.
We call ourselves true believers. It's not like religion. It is religion. It is, it is real. And I would say it's actually, in my opinion, better than, institutional religion, because sports just requires presence. If you go enough times, you eventually, and I did, as a Red Sox fan, witness miracles, and things come true. So that's kind of the origins of the book. The book is actually, I have a company named The Religion of Sports. It's really sort of become my vocation, which is another spiritual term, which is appropriate here.
Speaking of spiritual terms, let me swing out. So I'm going to ask this because I know you can handle it.
Of course.
Is there a price that we pay for worshiping at that altar? We're talking about the religion of sports. Is there a price that we pay in our society for soul worshiping at that altar the way we do in this country?
Yeah, well, and, certainly in other countries, it might arguably be worse when you look at some of the things that happen and, in other countries around sports and rivalries, yeah, there is a dark side. There is a cost.
Mm-hmm.
There's certainly a danger investing, all our hopes and beliefs in what are ultimately human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Athletes they may do mythical things and divine-like things on a court or on a in a ring or et cetera on a field, but they are human beings. So yeah, there's a cost. There's corruption. By the way, all the things that exist in institutional religion exist in the religion of sports: scandals and corruption and false prophets and all of that sort of stuff. So again, I'd say it just backs up the analogy. But look, I would say, in totality, when you strip away some of that stuff, what are sports? Sports are about, two things. I would say, one, if you're an athlete, it's about reaching your highest potential. It's the highest of human potential. That's always what sports has been, going back to, mythical times, the Olympics, et cetera. It's like, can I achieve greatness? And then if you're a fan, which is most of us, myself included, what is it really? It's about becoming part of something greater than yourself. It's about believing, buying into a community, that's broader and bigger than yourself. And, one of the great things we talk a lot about is, when you go to an athletic event and you're a fan in the stands, oftentimes, you are with people with whom you don't have a lot in common, socially, ethnically, racially, religiously, sexually, et cetera. And yet, for those 2-3 hours, you're part of something, you transcend all those differences. So I would say there's something sort of mythical also about just being a fan.
So Earl Warren, as I recall, who went on to become Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, once wrote, and it still rings in my ears all these years later, once wrote that when he woke up in the morning, Gotham, he would read the sports pages first because it reminded him of man's accomplishments, man's capacity, man's ability. So he would wake up in the morning and read the sports pages first, essentially because it was a sort of shot in the arm. If you wake up these days and you read the sports pages first, or you turn on ESPN first, there's a lot of negativity. And to your point, these athletes are human. They're not human and divine. But because sport is so central to our lives, I wonder whether or not we're being inspired to our highest potential in the way that sports used to sort of be that shot in the arm, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think what we're talking about, though, really is, the sign of the times, and times change. And, I think everything traces back right now to social media. It depends on what you're looking for.
Right.
If you're going and, looking for greatness and that sort of inspiration, it's there. I mean, just this, and that's the thing. We can look no further than this past weekend. We're not looking into ancient history. We're looking at the rivalry games, Ohio State and Michigan, over 100,000 people, a great game, incredible performances, et cetera. Like, there is that human greatness element. But there's also, and I'm a big believer in, I don't believe in that, thing that people talk about, like, oh, sports and politics should be separate. And, sports is a sanctuary away from the rest of the world. Not really. Sports, not just now, but historically has always been about, race and politics and sexuality. And sports right now, we have a series coming out we're launching, very soon, called The World According to Football, which is basically, any of the world's most existential issues, whether it's climate change or equal pay or racism, can be looked through the lens, in this case, of the world's most popular game, which is soccer, right? Like, all of these issues exist in this country. The civil rights movement is intertwined with sports. We have advocates going from, Jim Brown, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Billie Jean King, et cetera. I mean, these are pioneers of certain movements in this country, and they were on the front lines of sports. Bill Russell, et cetera, Muhammad Ali. So, even today, LeBron James, is a huge advocate. So, I'm a big believer. Like, you can find whatever you want through the lens and the language of sport.
You mentioned Kareem. Ironically, when we come forward, I want to get to some of these great stories in this book from Serena Williams and Tom Brady, LeBron James, Simone Biles, Steph Curry, even Kobe, and some other greats. But he mentioned Kareem. It just so happens I hadn't seen Kareem in a while, but it just so happens. Matter of fact, I haven't even had a chance to post the photo yet. But I bumped into Kareem this weekend, and we spent some time hanging out for a few hours this weekend. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and I did, the captain. And what completely blew me away, and I got to post this photo for this particular reason, Kareem was wearing his UCLA Leatherman's jacket. You know how long ago Kareem played at UCLA, and he was still wearing his authentic, original Letterman jacket when he played basketball at UCLA, and I couldn't help but take a picture with him in that jacket. There's my Kareem story, since you mentioned Kareem, Gotham. More about the religion of sports, navigating the trials of life through the games we love, when we come forward with the author of that book, Gotham Chopra.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom. What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
So, Gotham, I was just showing the photo that I haven't had a chance to post yet of Kareem and I hanging out this weekend with his original UCLA Letterman's jacket on. And, of course, the conversation went to, you know how much money that jacket is worth?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Relic. You know?
Yeah, it's a classic. It is a relic, man. But I was just so impressed when I saw it. I said, Captain, man, we got to take a photo with this jacket on, man. So we sat and talked for a while. We had a good time this weekend. Anyway, that said, there's some great stories in this book. The book is called, in case you've just tuned in, Religion of Sports by Gotham Chopra, son of Deepak. The subtitle, Navigating the Trials of Life Through the Games We Love. What is there, Gotham, for us to learn from the stories of these great athletes? We could never do do what they do in competition, but we can be empowered by the stories they tell about how they do what they do. Tell me more about that part, as we say.
Well, yeah, maybe I'll say it through the filter of, so I'm a father. I have a 16-year-old son. And, one of the things he's an athlete. Look, my son is talented, etc. Doesn't matter how many jump shots he takes, he's never going to become Stephen Curry. No matter how many times I take him to the driving range or the tennis court, he's not going to become Tiger Woods or Serena Williams. But, the point of why we put our kids, I hope most of us put our kids through sports programs is not because we think they're going to become, elite professional athletes. It's because of what they learn from being part of a team or, in sports, the greatest baseball hitters of all times fail 7 out of 10 times, right? Like, that's the way it goes. Sports, every time I talk to an elite athlete, and there are tons of anecdotes in this book, you know what they always talk about? They talk about the times they fail, the times they stumble. Tom Brady always says, it's not about the 7 Super Bowls that I won, it's about the 3 that I lost. Those are the ones that I learned the most from. If not for the 3 losses, I wouldn't have won the 7. And so, I think that's really like what the book is full of anecdotes because, and what the goal is really, I guess, is to communicate to, the layman, the true believer, the disciples ourselves, what can we learn from this? What can we take? And what we can take is, stories about resilience, stories about being accountable, stories about being, part of something bigger than yourself. And of course, also the other thing, you talk to athletes all the time, they talk about what, getting into flow state, being in the zone. And what does that really mean? That's, again, being their best version of themselves. And, are there codes? Are there cheat codes? Are there formulas for how we get there? So, that's really the intention behind the book, is to share some fun stories, but really also to say, how does this apply to me, who's never going to go win Wimbledon or an NBA championship, et cetera.
A couple more questions that I want to put to Gautam Chopra when we come forward in our remaining moments with him. His book is called Religion of Sports, and we're talking about it right now on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions because we've got your black. Listen up. If you're one of the more than 100,000 California tenants who were rejected or delayed when applying for COVID rental assistance, you've got a second chance. Under the terms of a new settlement, California's Housing and Community Development Department agreed to audit its past denials. The program ended in March 2022, but the advocacy groups Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment, Policy Link, and Strategic Actions for a Just Economy sued the department. According to the coalition's analysis of state data, the department rejected nearly 30% of all applicants. Under the settlement, the department agreed to clear all renters in the pipeline within 6 months. The settlement applies to anyone who sought assistance from the state's Housing is Key program before April 1st, 2022, whose whose applications is pending or was denied after June 6, 2022. Tenants who have questions about the status of their application can call the hotline at 833-430-2122. That's 833-430-2122. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Boom, 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 boom. Nissan has a car for every driver who wants more. More action. More fun. More guts. More head turns. More adventure. More electric. At Nissan, more is all we do.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
Before we wrap this conversation, Gotham, I want to give you a chance to say a word about your documentary, about your new series, I should say, that's The World According to Football. We'll talk about that in a moment here. But right quick here, you were talking about your son, and my mind went to a number of stories I've read of late about parents getting increasingly concerned about the physical consequences and repercussions their kids are suffering, not just in football, but other sports as well. So on the one hand, there is this character building. On the other hand, we're learning more and more about the way this physical engagement breaks down these kids' bodies. Your thoughts about that?
Yeah, look, I'm one of those, we have fallen into this trap, whether it's AU basketball or just intensive specialization, with kids in specific sports. Again, most of these kids are not going to, reach levels where they're playing in, college or Division A or Division I or, the professional ranks. So, we're just overdoing it. And I think it's the responsibility of parents to dial it back. I mean, it's certainly something we practice, my wife and I, but it's the thing I would encourage. You just see too much of it. And, what you see when athletes at the highest level, where do they get hurt? Where do they, encounter mental, there's a lot of talk now about, mental health in sports. Mm-hmm. It's when they're overworked. Yeah. It's when, the body or the mind is overused. Yep. And so dialing it back is critical.
No, fair enough. I got about 60 seconds here. Tell me about The World According to Football. And I know it's narrated by, is it Trevor Noah? Trevor did that one?
Yep. Trevor Noah. So from The Daily Show, one of the really smartest minds, but also most obsessive soccer minds. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's coming out. It's coming out on Paramount Plus. But it goes back to what we were talking about. It is the most popular sport on the planet, no matter where you go across the globe. From the smallest pitches in Tibet to the biggest stadiums in Spain. Mm-hmm. People are obsessed with this sport. But in part, why they're obsessed with this sport is because everything that matters to us can be seen and explained through the lens of this sport. So we've certainly dealt with it here recently with equal pay and the struggle around that.
Sure.
But this is a sport that goes back generations and decades. And so it's a really fun series narrated by, one of the most celebrated minds, in my opinion, of our culture.
Narrated by our friend and brother Trevor Noah. It's called The World According to Football, premiering this Friday on Paramount Plus. The latest project from Gautam Chopra, who also is the author of a new book called Religion of Sports, Navigating the Trials of Life Through the Games We Love. Some great advice in here from some great stories told by Brady and James and Williams and Bryant. And others. Gautam, good to have you on the program. Again, give my father your best. Congrats on all your work. Good to have you on the program. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Stay strong. Just like that, 3 hours gone, back here tomorrow to do it all over again. Until then, thanks for listening to the Tavis Smiley program. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Embattled New York Republican Congressman George Santos says he expects to be expelled from office, and it could come as soon as this week. A House Ethics Committee said it found evidence that Santos used his campaign funds for personal use, violated other laws, and lied about his education. Santos is also facing federal wire fraud and money laundering charges, all of which he denies. Dolly Parton, Taylor Swift, and other female powerhouses are the subjects of a new course offered at the University of Florida. The 13-week course is called Musical Storytelling with Taylor Swift and other iconic female artists. It also features African Americans Billie Holiday and Aretha Franklin. It's offered through the university's honors program starting in the spring. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and VINnews.com.
Halloween is over, but hiring is still scary. Indeed's end-to-end solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Four Pac-12 schools are ranked in the top 10 in this week's AP Women's College Basketball Poll, including number 2 UCLA and number 6 USC. Stanford is third, Colorado 7th. For 5-0 USC, this is the highest ranking for the program since the Trojans were 4th in 1994. A major reason for USC's surge to national prominence is freshman Juju Watkins, who grew up in Watts. Watkins has already had 3 games with 30 or more points. She's averaging 26.2 and shooting 50%. Next game for USC is Tuesday against Cal Poly. UCLA is off until December 3rd at Arkansas. Right fielder Jason Hayward agreed to a 1-year deal worth $9 million to stay with the Dodgers. Hayward's decision to re-sign with the Dodgers keeps Mookie Betts from being the only African-American player on the Dodgers roster. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA